Hi guys, welcome back to the shop again this week. We are in the final stages of our Howard Hill style longbow, bamboo back and belly. Guys, you've been, if you have been following along with me up to this point, I really appreciate you hanging in there because it has taken a lot of time and attention to get to this point with me. But this week we finish her off, so hang in there and we'll bring her home. I am pretty much at my final destination with regard to tillering, the shape, everything about it. I got a little work left to do on the grip. We're going to put in the arrow rest, etc. However, the next question is where to put that arrow rest. So you can see that this bow balances on my finger right about here, which puts the grip right like this. And I'm going to do just a little bit of handle crawling, kind of like crawling the string, to find the exact best place to shoot from, to get a feel for where I get the least amount of vibration or the best feel on the bow itself based on where the fulcrum of my hand is on the shot. So that is really kind of where I'm at now, because we're trying to sort out where on this grip to put the arrow rest. Quick, it's quiet, soft in the hand. There's very little to not like about this bow. At this point, I couldn't really tell you how many shots have gone through this bow. It's got to be approaching 200. It's actually really just a lot of fun to shoot, as it turns out. But at this point, we're going to lay out where we're going to put our arrow rest. I don't want to be shooting off of my knuckle, when it comes time to like a hunting type application, or when you're counting on accuracy. You need to be able to index that point every time that you shoot, the arrow rest, that is. So you might be able to see here that I have marked out, this right here is like the balance point, right? Measured up about 1.25 inches, which would be, my grip. Hopefully I'm on screen here, where my grip is. So when we balance here, this is like the geographical center of the bow. Puts us with a arrow rest right about here. Okay, so you can kind of see in the reflection of the light there, I got some pretty good eased edges there, kind of rounded out, and eased over, I guess would be the way to describe it. But just a very fluid looking bow so far, and the grip is still is rough. You can still see mill marks in there, etc. So this has not been touched up in any way, shape, or form outside of its initial shaping. Now, I have, and you can probably see, this is not a light thing. This is, the section's been sanded. So you can see where, like, the sweat of my hand has kind of darkened the grip in that area from shooting, and sanded this area so that I got a smooth surface with which to work once we glue on the arrow rest. And in order to not have to put a line down again that I might not be able to sand out because of where the arrow rest lies, I put a piece of tape in place, and then cut out a couple pieces of leather here that I'm going to glue up and stack. And really how this is going to work is I'm going to glue them together, and then in the process of allowing the glue to dry, I'm going to hold them to the shape of the bow right here. So they've got just that little bit of concave to them, right? So that they're bent just a little like this to fit to the handle of the bow. Now I'm not going to affix it to the bow just yet, because I want to do a lot of the initial removal prior to actually gluing it up to the bow. Here is the piece that we glued up initially, and I ground it down on the sander, and it's got a good angled edge on there for an arrow rest. So all that's left is to get it affixed to the bow where we want it, right here. And we're going to position it such that the arrow rest itself is at the widest part of the, I guess, the neck of the strike plate. So right about where you see it is where we're going to put it. I have found that tight bond is really just as good a glue as any to get this done. And one other advantage to the blue tape is where the glue spills over on the top half of all this, the tape will just pull it right up. The transition on this is a little bit abrupt around its edges. It needs to be finished out. So in comes the super glue. You know, it just hardens the immediate surface of the leather, which allows us to work it with woodworking tools, so it becomes hard, kind of like wood. And you'll be able to see how it works just like it were a piece of wood. So we can work out our concaves, right? Get this all shaped out the way we want. And as we're working through, when it starts to get that fuzzy appearance again, we just re-soak it with the super glue and continue working. So it'll almost be like an integral part of the existing grip, because we can work it down. Like I mentioned before, I haven't done any finish work on this portion of the grip, so we can get it shaped exactly the way we want without worrying about coming in contact with the wood, surrounding wood anyway, and really work it out the way we want it. So you can see how it's starting to get that furry texture to it again. That means it's time to start thinking about putting the super glue on there again. So we're just going to repeat this process, working it down, soaking it with super glue, work it down, work it down, soak it with super glue, work it down until we get exactly the shape that we're looking for. You can see that the arrow rest has pretty much been completed. You can even see a little bit of the sheen from the super glue on there, and where the arrows are passing by on the strike plate. Just wanted to kind of highlight the appearance of this thing on the grip. So you can see that it really does fit in pretty seamlessly with the finish of the bow itself. So a very viable option instead of cutting out a sight window. I really probably should have taken a before picture of what this rattan looked like in its package, because it looked so neat and organized that the resulting bird's nest wasn't exactly what I was anticipating dealing with. But anyway, this is going to be the material that we're going to make our grip out of. All right, now that we have smoothed everything out, or at least ground down the pith side of this cane wrap, you can see here that it just runs real easily right over my thumb, right? Like it will take that angle without too much trouble, or bend, let's say. It'll bend around the grip without too much issue. So that's kind of uniform throughout the whole length here. And we are dealing with like little bits and pieces that have like bend in them and whatnot. So what we're gonna do from here is soak this material in warm water for about, I don't know, 20 minutes to half an hour. It may not even take that long. And the idea is to just get it really nice and supple so that we can apply it then to our bow. All right, guys, getting ready to wrap this on. I'm just patting off the water a little bit here, primarily so it doesn't mess up my tabletop, more so than anything else. Got a couple extra helpers on the top of the workbench here, being double stick tape, and then of course my third hand here, some blue tape. Man, be careful not to step on this stuff on the floor when working with it. And I'm going to lay down a little bit of double stick tape, not because it'll really hold the rattan down so much, but once it's wrapped tight to the tape will hold it in place pretty well. And this is one of those things that I know that in the end result, if this rattan were to come off, like on purpose, if somebody doesn't like a rattan grip, then it'll come off, not like if you were to do like a super glue or glue this all on. Because as you go along this wrap, guys, we don't want to be overlapping too awful much. And as a matter of fact, not at all. We want each successive wrap to match up to the base of the prior wrap. I'm going to go ahead, you guys, and just wrap this out. And then I will come back to show you how we finish it out from here. So I figured to be within the last 3 or 4 wraps here on this one. And what I'm going to do is take some blue tape right across the front here and just wrap it tightly around what I have finished at this point. And that way it'll hold my wraps tight while I work on getting the end finished out here. So what I've got is 4 remaining wraps to get me down my way here. And then you can see the loop here has no twist or anything in it, but it does turn upside down, so we'll have a single crease to get back up through the wraps. Now we'll pull this on through. As we do, you'll see that it comes to what would be one last crease, and that crease is going to be right about here. So put the crease in advance. Pull this guy up and through. There we go. There's our finish wrap right there. Again, we'll just let that set overnight, and we can put any kind of finish on there that we want. This is going to be like impervious to water. I mean, this is a great grip to employ for like hunting bows, etc. Where, you know, moisture is a liability. Uh-oh. This is not a good thing. There we go. On your grip. This is about 3 coats of shellac, and you can see just how shiny that limb is under those coats, and you can kind of see some of the brush strokes as well. But I'm not looking for this sheen going on. So took about an 800 grit. This is actually, it's not steel wool, but it's an abrasive pad, right? And I have kind of applied it in a circular motion to the upper limb, and you can see how that took the finish and really just kind of created a satin appearance to it. And that is the look we're going for right there. That's a good one.